We'll wait for the truck to go by. Squeak! I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds like my Toyota 4Runner brakes. Okay. Hi, and welcome to Realistic Renovations and Refinishing. I'm Sean, and as you could tell by the thumbnail and the giant monstrosity behind me, I finally got a toolbox. Yes, it took me 35 years. Yes, it was the hardest decision I had to make, and I'll explain. So first of all, we're going to do this a little bit different. This is something I've been waiting for a very long time. It's one of those things I've always wanted, but something always kept me from getting it. The fact of getting a toolbox is probably a momentous occasion for me. Again, I've been wanting one for so long, ever since I started working on cars. So ever since I was 15, I was working on cars, whether it be my own or friends, helping people out, stuff like that. I started collecting tools, and I never really had something to put the tools in, other than what normal 15-year-olds do back in the day is buy a giant fish and tackle box that closes up, and there's your toolbox. Now, granted, sometimes the weight got so much, the hinges and the latches would break off, and I'd just go buy another toolbox or another small toolbox, or buy a metal toolbox, a little tiny hand-carried one. So the reason it took me 35 years is obviously back when you're younger, I couldn't afford it. All my money went towards basically my car, gas, insurance, any kind of modifications I wanted to do to it. So anything I wanted to do, I all paid for myself. I never went to my parents, very little basically. So it was all on me. So buying the tools was a little bit here and there, but buying a toolbox like this would be more than my car at the time. So it was unreasonable to buy a giant toolbox. Now, when I was 20, I joined the military, wanted to do something other than think of myself. I wanted to serve the military, go places, travel the world, get an education, and basically learn a new skill set. Again, I did become a jet engine mechanic, so I didn't fall far from my hobby. And if anybody knows about the military and about moving, you can't really just free-for-all move whatever you want. So there is a weight limit. And a toolbox like this, with all the tools inside of it, would eat up probably a quarter of my weight limit. So that means I would have to figure out what else I need to get rid of. Now, it doesn't say I never bought a big tool or I never bought a toolbox. Probably about 15 years ago, I bought a toolbox when I was in England, or before I moved to England. I had it moved to England. It was a small toolbox. In fact, the back of it, or the top of it, is sitting right there. And I'll explain why I just have the top in a second. So when I moved to England, everything was fine, had all the tools, everything like that. I was working on one of my cars in there. And then I moved from England back to the United States. Again, that is kind of a sketchy thing, is having people move all your stuff. So when I got the toolbox, I only received the top portion. The bottom portion was gone. It wasn't on the truck. The movers said they didn't have it. It wasn't with the stuff that they moved in. So with that being said, I went to the base and talked to them about getting my toolbox, getting refunded, getting some kind of compensation for the fact I missed the entire bottom portion of the box and all the tools that were in it. Now the toolbox was locked. They didn't have the opportunity to inventory it or anything like that, so I had nothing to say, hey, I had these many items, but it was a majority of my tools. They denied my claim because the toolbox on the paper said one toolbox. And I stated that it was one toolbox, top and bottom, and they said it should have been two toolboxes. Lesson be learned, I lost the box, or the bottom portion of the box, and all the tools that went with it. Now I couldn't go after the moving company because the way the military does it, a moving company packs you over in England, and then they send it to the United States, and then a different moving company inventories it and then packs it and then basically brings it to me. So somewhere along that line, it disappeared. So I don't know. Again, that's water under the bridge. I started collecting tools, started getting more things for basically my cars I like to build, this being one of them. And I finally moved to Kansas. So when I was in Kansas, I didn't want to buy a toolbox like this because moving something like this would be so hard to do by myself or even with friends, because that is an enormous box. It weighs a ton alone, plus all the tools in it. It would have been extremely difficult, if not impossible, to move that box by myself all the way here to Florida. So I waited and waited and waited and waited. Finally, when we moved to Florida, I wanted to work on the garage again because I didn't want to move that around. I wanted to work on the garage and get it set up nicely for me to work on it. That's what all the work's been going on in the garage, being able to work on cars with Jill. That was one of the things that Jill wanted to do. And that kind of set the motion in place of actually getting the garage done. And my whole goal was, when I get the garage done, we get the toolbox. When we finally figured out when we were going to start working on the garage, because we had some things to do on the house on the inside before we did this. Now, at the time of the decision of timeline of when we were going to do it and how long it was going to take and what we were going to do and all that other stuff, well, shit hit the fan and we found out Jill had cancer. So that put a stop on everything. This was not important. This was not important. Nothing in the house was important. The only thing that was important to me was to get Jill basically taken care of, back to healthy, get her strength back and everything like that. So there goes another almost 2 years of making sure she was safe, making sure she was healthy, taking care of her, everything she needed, she got. I bust my ass at work and to be able to go to every appointment, everything like that. So I wanted to do that. That came first. So financially, I was kind of strapped because I didn't spend a lot of time at work other than the days that she didn't need me for either appointments or chemo or surgeries or everything like that. I spent the time at work. If she needed me, I was off of work. I took off, I didn't care. Again, Jill was the most important thing to me. Her safety and health were more important than anything else. Again, I stated that many times, so you kind of get the picture of that. So everything waited until she was healthy. So she had her surgery did everything like that. And then we started working on the garage. And then, again, shit hits the fan, and we are limited on what we can do, both in the garage for basically getting people to help us and stuff like that. So everything in this garage, Jill and I have actually done. Everything from the wiring to the putting up the wall, to paint, to everything. I mean, the cabinets, everything was done by just Jill and I, which took a lot more time than I thought, because I couldn't have friends come over and stuff like that, because again, I didn't want her to recover from cancer to go straight into getting something like COVID or something like that. So that put a damper on that. We waited, we took as long as we could. Again, I work a full-time job, she works a full-time job, so it was basically just the weekends. And with the fact that she's recovering from a year-long process of chemo, she couldn't help that much, and it took a lot longer than I thought. So, going to the point where we are now, we just received this box probably about a couple weeks ago. We had a friend of ours from next door come over and help me stack the box the way it is now, and we gathered up all the tools from everywhere. Me and Jill did. So we gathered the tools from the box that I have in the back, which again I'll show you here in a second, to the stuff in the shed in the backyard and the stuff we have in storage. So we started putting all the tools out here, and I come out, I took a nap one day. I had worked a lot, took basically a long nap or whatever. And Jill's out here putting all the tools in. I was gonna show you all the tools and stuff like that, and the fact of why I needed such a big box. Yeah, Jill was bored and wanted to organize the toolbox. She did a pretty damn good job too, so I do have to say that. She pretty much did it exactly the way I wanted. So she is definitely a car girl. Might not be able to do a lot because of her strength still, but she definitely knows her shit, that's for sure. Anyways, so it did take me 35 years from the point that I got into cars and collecting tools to purchasing the toolbox and actually receiving the toolbox. Took me about 35 years. So that was a big step. So this right here is a huge step for me. Going from a small box to something like this, or going from half a box to something like this. So why was it one of the hardest decisions I had to make? Here with COVID going on, and the fact that we've been going through the cancer treatment and all the appointments and the surgeries and loss of pay and loss of time and stuff like that, I had a struggle of basically spending the money on this rather than on something else in the house. Now, it doesn't mean I can't afford it. This is easily affordable for me, but there's always something else. Jill will tell you guys that when it comes to buying stuff for me, for myself, it's really hard. I bought a Ford F-350 and it took me a year to talk myself into it. And I needed a vehicle. This I don't need. I do, but I can live without it. The truck I needed. I absolutely needed something. I needed a vehicle. Now, the reason why it was such a hard decision. So, to spend the money on something like this, for me, I had to talk myself into it. I had to give myself reasons why I needed it. Did I absolutely need it? No, not at all. Did I absolutely want it? 100%. Need versus want? need usually trumps wants for me. But Jill, she talked me into purchasing the box that is behind me. If I haven't said it yet, thank you. I love you, Jill, and thank you for forcing me to buy a box I've wanted for 35 years. I appreciate it. I absolutely love you, and I can't wait to build cars with you. And Susan can't wait to be worked on either. We'll do that come probably a couple months when we get more parts for her. So stay tuned for that. So again, it was an extremely hard decision for me to spend the money and spend all the stuff for that. But it was a good decision. In my opinion, it was a good decision. It was the right decision to make. And we'll be using it very much, using it a lot. I still can't believe I have it. I'm actually excited. I'm more excited about this than the giant truck in my driveway. Again, this is a long time waiting, a long time coming for, you know, needing, everything like that. So let me go ahead and basically cut off from here, and I'll show you what I was working with and what I have now. Obviously you can see behind me, but I'll show you exactly how we have it kind of set up. So I'll cut to that. So this is half of the box I had from the last place. It's a Craftsman, it's a 42-inch wide box. I did have the bottom, it did disappear, but this is what I've had almost all my tools in. So it's very small compared to that thing. Now we did purchase this for having some of the minor things when we roll it out to the cars out in the driveway, but again, it wasn't that big. It was wasn't what I needed. So this one, let me go through this one. That will pretty much be all my welding gear, my helmets, my jacket, shirts, whatever, gloves, everything will be in there. All the extra parts for the welder will be in there as well. That way it's all in one place. I don't have to go searching for it. Up here, there's absolutely nothing. Just paper and kind of junk right now. Now, again, we have screwdrivers in here. We have the wrenches, which I have another wrench set coming. Have pliers, more pliers, all your electrical stuff, more pliers, more wrenches, yeah, all the stubbies and stuff and specialty wrenches, and more screwdrivers. Screwdrivers, picks, stuff like that is up here. Now the bottom, this right here is all your sockets, your giant snap-on ratchet. The only socket that fits with it, I don't know why I have such a big socket. I think it was for Volkswagen Beetles or something. But torque wrenches, stuff like that. Now here it's divided into basically 1/4 inch ratchets or 1/4 inch stuff, 3/8 and 1/2 inch. And then it goes down to hammers and basically all your specialty tools and everything like that is in here. Now this, these are all the sockets that don't fit anywhere else. I have extra sockets, so I always have extra, more sockets, your Klinko stuffs, and all your electrical cords. Over here is set up basically just, these are all like your inspection tools, yeah. Files, I can never have enough of these. These are all lost in my house somewhere. Your, basically your pry bars, chisels for when we do woodwork and stuff in here. punches, chisels, just a big drawer full of rags. And then this right here is basically all just paperwork. Your paperwork, stuff for my GoPros and my videos, flashlights, which I don't know why that's out, saws, gloves, respirator, stuff like that, glasses, and stuff I can't use. So that's the handles for the outside. It doesn't even go in here anymore. She set it up. I helped her when she started setting it up. So it works out very well. So again, good things come to those who wait. 35 years was a little bit long to wait, but again, it was something that needed to be done, and again, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad Jill talked me into it, and again, thank you very much, Jill, for doing that for me, and I appreciate it. Okay, if you guys like the video, want to see more stuff, especially with her using it, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Also, when we finally get working on Susan, which is the car behind me, or car in front of me, 151 Garage is the channel that we're going to be working on that. So we'll give you a kind of a throwdown of this car, or what it is, what we've done to it so far, and hopefully you'll dig what we do with it and the ideas and the stuff we've actually been working on. As soon as we get rid of this, we can set up the bed. So, okay, see you guys later. See you next video.